Alright, tonight we're going to cover two different chapters, chapter 14.1 and 14.3, dealing with bar graphs and circle graphs. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time teaching you what a bar graph is because we've already went over that, and I know that you've been exposed to circle graphs in the past, so we're just going to kind of go touch base on what they are, how to build one, how to read one, and do some examples for you. Alright, so a bar graph. Let's say I have this set of data. I have 2, 8, 4, 6, and 10. These are going to be like the number of candy bars that students brought. Okay, so I'm going to have my students down here. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. You'll need to know those when you get higher up in grades. Okay, so I know my scale for the y-axis is going to be, I have 2 as my lowest number and 10 as my highest number. And I want to go at least 1 or 2 intervals above and below those 2 numbers. So let me see what my interval is going to be. And I've got all even numbers, and I start with 2, so I'm going to say that probably 2 is going to be my interval. So I'm going to start here at 0. My first interval is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and I'll go one more above 10, which is 12. So my scale is going to be 0 to 12. Right, so this is going to be the number of candy bars on this side. Okay, this is my number of students. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 students. So then my scale here is going to be 1 to 5. Interval being 1. So I'm going to go student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, student 5. Alright, so I can quickly color these in. Student number 1 brought in 2. So I'm going to color their graph in red. Student number 2 brought in 8, so let's go up to 8 here. Draw our bar, color it in. Student number 3 did 4, so let's go to 4, bring it down, color our bar in. Student number 4 brought in 6, so let's go up to 6, color that in. And student number 5, finally, last one, brought in 10. Okay, that's our bar graph. You can quickly see that this student brought the most in, student number 5, and this student here brought in the least, student number 1. Alright, so bar graph, make sure you know your scale, your interval for both sides of the graph, and give it a title. We'll say candy bar. Alright, let's take a look at this. Alright, so for a circle graph, we've got this information. We've got peanut butter and jelly, 50 students, turkey, 25 students, ham, 15 students, and bologna, 10 students. So this is going to be the kind of sandwiches that students vote for. And if you add all of these up, it should equal 100 students. Generally, a circle is going to represent 100 or 100%. You'll be dealing with percentages and fractions. So this is our whole. So remember that. This is our whole. And we're going to break it up into parts. So our first part is PB&J, which is 50 students, which is half the circle. If my circle is 100, PB&J is 50, that is half the circle. Okay, so this is my PB&J side over here. Alright, turkey. Turkey is 25 students. Okay, so now I'm dealing with just this half of the circle, right here, which leaves me with 50, and I know 25 is half to 50, so I'm going to take this into half, and this is going to be my turkey. So I'll label that with a T, label this with a PB, J. Alright, now I've got ham. Ham is 15 students, bologna is 10 students. Okay, it's kind of hard for me to take a 25 and put it into half evenly, but that's okay because ham is taking up more than half of the 25 anyways. So I'm going to estimate here that this right here is going to be my ham, and this right here is going to be my bologna. Label that with a B, label that with an H, Okay, there is my circle graph. I can quickly see that the most popular sandwich is peanut butter and jelly, and the least popular sandwich is bologna, just by the size of the chunks or the parts of the whole that I'm looking at right here. All right, so let's take a look at some practice examples from our book. Okay, so in our example, we've got this camp choices. It says you can use bar graphs to compare data. Might want to remember that because that's important. In vertical bar graphs, which means up and down, the bars run from the bottom of the graph to the top of the graph, which is what we've been conducting or creating already up until this point. Horizontal bar graphs run right to left. Okay, what that would look like would be bars going like this. Okay, so that would be a horizontal bar graph. All right, so using the camp choices bar graph, which camp was chosen by the fewest students? So I'm going to look for the shortest bar in that data, and that is going to tell me what the fewest number of students were. Okay, so I'm looking at the bar graph, and I see that drama is the smallest of the bars. So drama is actually going to be the chosen by the fewest number of students. Second question was how many students chose Space Camp? The bar for Space Camp goes all the way up to number 20 here. So 20 students chose Space Camp. All right, let's do some examples of our own. All right, so using favorite fruit. Which fruit do students most prefer? Or do most students prefer? So I'm looking for the most number. And looking at this, I can see that grapes has the biggest bar. It goes up to 25. All the other ones are shorter and they don't go up to 25. So I'm going to say that grapes is the most popular fruit in this bar graph. How many students prefer oranges? Okay, so I'm going to find oranges here. And I'm going to see it goes up to the 15. All right, so there's my answer. 15 students prefer oranges. All right, taking a look at favorite sports. It asks me which sport received the same number of votes. All right, so I'm looking for the same number of votes, which means my bars are going to be equal in height. And that, just by looking at it, I can see that soccer and football both have the same size bar. So my answer then will be football and soccer. All right, how many votes did hockey receive? So I'm going to take a look at hockey's bar graph. It goes all the way up to number 20. So my answer then is 20. All right. Okay, last set of examples for circle graphs from our practice book. It says you can use circle graphs to show data in different categories. Okay, something you might want to write down so that if anybody asks you how to or what kind of graph that you're going to be using, hint, hint, we'll be doing that in the near future. You can say, oh, if I need to show data in different categories, I can use circle graphs. So each color in the graph stands for a category. Each category is divided into sections to show the data. Using the breakfast graph, which type of breakfast received the fewest votes? So the category with the fewest votes is represented by the smallest section. Okay, smallest number, smallest section. In the graph shown, the smallest section is eggs. So the type of breakfast with the fewest number of votes is eggs. Which type of breakfast received the most number of votes? The category with the most votes is represented by the largest section. Largest number, largest section. In the graph shown, the largest section is cereal, so the type of breakfast with the most votes then is cereal. Okay, remember small number, small piece of the pie. Big number, big piece of the pie. All right, so looking at our examples here, which subject received the most votes? Looking at our subjects graph right here. All right, so if I'm just looking at this, this one right here and this one right here look almost the same. It's really kind of hard to determine which one is bigger just by sight. But luckily enough here, they gave us a number to correspond with our pie. So right here, we've got writing is 8 students, and science is 6 students. All right, so I've got 8 students and 6 students, so I'm going to say then that writing received the most votes. All right, how many students prefer science? We already talked about that. They gave us a number, so that number is 6. Therefore, 6 students preferred science. All right, looking at the favorite animal graph. How many people said that dogs were their favorite animal? Not including Miss Fernley, because I wasn't part of this survey, even though dogs are my favorite animal. I'm going to look here for dogs, which is right here. And it tells me that 11 people said that dogs were their favorite animal. Therefore, 11 is my number. And how many votes did horses receive? So then I'm going to take a look right here at horses. Oops. Okay, I'm going to look right here at horses. Horses are 15. So 15 people voted for horses. Therefore, my answer is 15. Easy peasy, huh? All right, so let's talk about your WSQ. Okay, so for tonight's WSQ. Oh, spell check. Be careful of that. All right, so as usual, I want you to write your summary. And I also want you to think about some information or some data that you can use in a circle graph and a bar graph. And I want you to create me one of each graph. So you're going to create a bar graph and a circle graph. You can use any data that you want. So you can make up your own data, you can research your own data. It's all up to you. Just create me a bar graph and a circle graph. Don't forget to make sure that you give me the information I need, like I gave you with the PB&J sandwiches. You need to be able to write down what the base information is that you're putting into the circle graph. Don't forget to give me your scale and your interval for your bar graph, and title on the axis, the y-axis and the x-axis, so that your partner can take a look at that and be able to read some information. You might also create a couple of questions to go along with that. Oh, good idea, Miss Fernley. So we're going to write, you're going to make 2 questions per graph for a partner to answer. All right. Well, you guys can get to work on that. Have a good night. We'll see you in the morning.